towards what is dominating the field. So we decided to build another type of bias into our platforms, so that both everything we do from a structural perspective in the Ocean Opportunity Lab and also our platforms are actually biased to accelerate female entrepreneurs, female leadership, and a more diverse and inclusive approach to rethink the ocean industries. And this is super exciting to be working on. And we now have also lifted that same focus into recruiting our team. So we are now a team of 10 people, and we have 7 nationalities from all over the world on board, which is also not very common when you start up either a tech or a maritime company. So we have a lot of really engaging and cool initiatives working forward. When we started to, we also started with a global focus to begin with. So we didn't start focusing on the Norwegian market or the Nordic market. We started with a global perspective. And now we are looking at how we can bring our project out to the world, but also bring other female founders and initiatives from Norway and the Nordic countries with us. So we are now, of course, Time to Write is on board. We have Heidi and the She community on board. We have also sent over some presentations to the Middle East with Agnes and Espen's ship designs a couple of weeks back. And we are in a dialogue with Nicole, who are aiming for disrupting the legal industry. And another platform that works with digital conference and event platforms. So we are thinking that if we approach the world aiming to change the world, then we shouldn't do it just by ourselves, for ourselves, but we should see how many others great initiatives out there could we bring on board, and then we could really do a power alliance into the market. So that's really, really engaging work. I hope that most of you will be joining on board. There are a lot of our partners here already. And we are also going to spend time this summer to work on investor presentations. And I'm not saying that we will bring on board only female investors, but there will be a very strong requirement criteria range when it comes to inclusion and diversity in order to become an investor in Tool. And also, as we onboard members, we actually introduce all our new members for ticking off if they have completed the SHE index or not. And then they will actually be ranked according to that in our community. So that was the Tool part of this day. And then I'm introducing the next speaker up, which is Agnes. And this is kind of a really special story, I feel, with Agnes and BRIM, because back in 2011, I set up the world's first entrepreneur award for young entrepreneurs in the maritime and ocean industries with North Shipping. And we have, for the first years, it was almost impossible to find female entrepreneurs. And up until last year, we didn't have any female winners of the Young Entrepreneur Award. And then North Shipping 2019, last year, we saw the first female winner on stage, which was Agnes, together with Espen, for the amazing project of BRIM Explorer. And Agnes, I'm so proud to work with you, and welcome to share your story and your journey.
Thank you so much, Birgit, and thank you all for being here. My name is Agnes Arnadottir, and I'm the CEO and one of 2 founders of BRIM Explorer. Can you hear me? Okay?
Yes.
Louder? Yes. Okay. Well, firstly, I am a political scientist. I'm probably one of the very few female political scientists that owns 2 ships, and I can call myself a ship owner. That is a lot of fun. Secondly, the reason we started BRIM Explorer is basically what you see here, color line. Old technology, big pollution, color line, when it lays to kai here, without power from shore, they are polluting as much as 3,000 cars in one day. So heavy polluters and the maritime industry needs to change. So I'm originally from Iceland, and I'm grown up in a small fishing village on the northeast coast of Iceland. My family, they started the first whale watching company in Iceland in 1995. So I was involuntarily part of the company from I was 9 years old. Did everything from washing puke from international guests, and then to guiding, and eventually working in a more responsible roles. I moved to Norway in 2008, and I was never going to work in a tourism company again, and definitely not in a family company. So I started studying political science. A few years later, I started working in the environmental NGO Bellona, which I assume most of you know, at least those of you based in Norway. And for those 3 years, I learned a lot about, well, the environment and not the least the technical solutions. So together with my family company in Iceland, we had a cooperation project where we retrofitted 2 old vessels from regular fossil fuels to hybrid electric. And after 3 years in Bellona, I got the opportunity to start a daughter company in northern Norway. And well, I had never run a company before, and but I said yes. I said, why not give it a try? And I did. And we brought up one of the hybrid electric vessels, and we ran it there for two seasons. And together with Espen, which came in quite early in the process. Espen is on board somewhere, by the way. What we saw was that the boat industry, well, with the knowledge also from Bellona about the technical possibilities, we saw that the boat industry and the boat tourism was ripe for a change. In the boat tourism, they are still mainly using old vessels, old fishing vessels or old ferries that are not built for the purpose of experiencing the animals or the waters or the nature around you. And with our experience, we saw that, okay, now this is actually the time to build a new ship that is not only environmentally friendly, but also specially designed for the purpose of bringing people out at sea and experiencing nature. And what is the best country to do this in? I mean, this is obviously Norway, because you have the longest coast in the world and one of the most beautiful ones. And you also have governmental schemes that support those kind of initiatives. And you have Norwegians that are quite familiar with electrification, with the EV revolution we have had here for the last years. So we started the process. Well, we actually wanted to have the family company on board, but they were not so interested in that. So me and Espen, we quit that work, and we established BRIM Explorer in early 2018. So a little more than two years ago. And we designed the ship using our experience from before, and we started the building process. I also learned that, well, it's quite hard to, well, I now have a baby, 6 weeks, that is challenging, but shipbuilding is really challenging. And it's challenging because it's an old industry, it's quite traditional one, and coming there as a female social scientist and having ideas about ship design, well, we were not really heard in the first place. Well, Espen, my co-founder, he's also a social scientist, so it didn't really help. And my father, who is the technical head of the company, he's a music teacher. So we were a team of 3 incompetent people. But in the end, we gained some respect, and we have had the best cooperation with the shipyard, Martin Partner. But it was a long and hard way to get there, because we needed to challenge the traditional way of thinking in the shipbuilding industry. Engineers, they have done things the same way always, and it was hard to push them in thinking differently. And yeah. And you really need to think differently in the sector. Electricity or power-driven ship, you need to think about energy efficiency in a complete different way. And you need to think about weight, and you need to think about producers on board. Anyways, I'm not going to bore you with the technical details, but this has been the most interesting process. And we have now launched the second ship, which is Bard, and that is now in Lofoten. It was supposed to be in Svalbard, but due to the corona crisis, we are obviously not there, and there's no tourism in Svalbard this summer. So we turned around as fast as we could, sailed down to Oslo and started operation here. And I'm so happy that Birgit is also supporting our initiative, and I hope that I will see many of you on board later. We host all kind of different events and charters as well. And yes, again, thank you for having me, and thank you for being here today.
And we will now take a short break, both for you guys who are physically here on the boat to refill your glasses and get some more liquids, and also to move the cameras before the panel discussion. And I also have to tell you that Agnes is not here by herself. We actually have 3 generations of women, with Agnes as the middle one, from this family on board BRIM Explorer today. And I would also like to use this opportunity. Now we have a physical lunch on board here today. All the profits from this goes to the operation of BRIM. BRIM was chartered or hired in by Hurtigruten for this season, both in northern Norway and Svalbard. And now BRIM is here in Oslo and needs all the customer growth they can use. So I think this is a huge, great opportunity to do activities on board environmental innovation hub with amazing people behind it, and to support our own entrepreneurs. So enjoy some more refreshments. We will be back in a short while with a panel discussion with investors. Nursing break. Yes, you have. So I think, yeah, because we're you can read downstairs. Yeah. And what we could do also, I mean, Raya, is that you have Wi-Fi, I guess. Yes, there is Wi-Fi. So just and then it will be quiet downstairs. When we leave the ship, we will depart on the outside. Okay. And then I think we will just have now 2 minutes for reading, and then we will go back with 20 minutes. Så det skulle Hei, så koselig. Ja. Får du kamera da? So, please find your seats so that we will be able to get back on track on the program. So, I will just get some people up here. So Tina Saltvedt, where are you? There, Tina, great. And Jen Koss again, can come back up, and Angela. And let's see, then we have Raya. Yes. And then everyone in the back can just come a little bit closer so that we will make sure that you can hear us. And I think that I will move over here. It's not so important that I'm visible. I try to stay like very invisible. Laugh of the day. So let's see. Photographer, are we on track? Everybody ready? Excellent. So now we saw, of course, a great example of the previous generation of ships going out in the fjord with the Color Line. They're actually doing a lot of really good environmental work, but as you can see, you have gray smoke from the pipe and you have a lot of noise. And then in this diversity-led boat that we are on board, everything is silent, you have no smell, you have a totally different experience. I think this is just a perfect example of next generation thinking, bringing innovation, renewable energy, innovation across industries together. So we are now ready for an investor panel to follow up the keynotes from before. And we have gathered Jeanette from Springbank, Raya Skogland from The Factory, FinTech and PropTech Incubator and Fund. Tina Saltvedt from Nordea, and Angela Holter from Astia, also with an American head office. And we wanted to ask you, of course, now we heard a lot of experiences and numbers about why we need to invest in equality, and I was wondering, what are the investors' experiences and key insights and advice to the entrepreneurs who wants to raise capitals and scale their companies? You can start with Tina, I think.
Okay, I must say I don't work as an investor, I work as an analyst. But I think one of the main things we really have to do is stop investing in companies who does not take equality into consideration. And what we do, I work in a bank, so I also work on the credit side of a company. And what we've started to do is basically give all the companies we deal with a rating, a sustainability rating. And one of the issues we look at is equality. So we look at the management board, we look at the group of leaders at all levels of the corporation, and out of that we make a score, a sustainability score, and that score is taken into the credit process of a company and also in the investment process of a company, and that will count basically for the way your company will attract capital for the future. So if you have a really low score, of course that will have an impact on the accessibility of capital and the price of capital. And in that way we hope that we can contribute to move the capital in a more equally direction.
And Jen, you don't only invest in female-led companies, but more the infrastructure to fuel diversity. And what are your key insights besides all the parts you mentioned with the Springbank work?
Yeah, I think that's an important distinction, which is that we actually don't care whether the company that we are investing in is led by a male or female, or it doesn't really matter to us. We care more about, as I said, the thematic approach to investment. I think one of the most important things, so one thing that we've been doing is a lot of ecosystem building, which means we're trying to sort of get all of the founders that are in our space and in our investment thesis together. And what we've done is we've created, for right now, a Slack channel that has over 100 founders from across North America, particularly, some in Europe, but mostly North America, that are in this sort of femtech space, gender equality femtech space. So these are 100 founders, male and female, running companies that are in career, care, or household consumer. And what I'm noticing is that sometimes the right capital needs to be matched with the right opportunities. And so I think that a lot of companies think that they should get venture funding. Our approach is we do everything from growth capital to venture capital, and everywhere from seed to Series B particularly. But I think the type of capital you take is just as important as the opportunity, meaning not everyone should take venture capital. And I think that there is a lot of opportunity to find the right money, going to the right places with the right sort of return expectations. And I think a lot of companies should know that. They shouldn't always think they should be chasing this dream of getting venture, because maybe you don't want to be on that treadmill, and maybe your company's not set up for that kind of growth, but you're still a great company and you're still going to provide great returns. So I think that's sort of something we've noticed recently with the founders.
And then bringing us over to Astia. I think many know about Astia Angels, which is part of your work, but you invest directly in women.
Yes. So opposite to Springbank.
Yeah.
Yes. We do. Astia's mission is to level the playing field for female founders and female leaders within companies, because as we say, venture capital's problem is our business opportunity. It's when we say that only it's been getting great we've been moving forward, we've been making change, but still in the US only 5% of venture capital goes to female-only teams. So that tells you that there's a problem and there is a huge opportunity within that space. And here in the Nordics, this is the most perhaps equal region in the world, and still 2.8% of venture capital goes to female-only teams. So when people say, for example, but why are you still talking about gender equality? It's just, we had that conversation 60 years ago. Well, not really, look at the numbers. And we do believe so that we can do a difference. We can really make a difference in that space, putting the money where we believe we can make a change. And so that's the mission. And to answer your question, what kind of advice we would give to funders to really raise capital? I would say just be aware of your own biases. Have inclusive teams and dedicate yourself to really building something strong and solid and coming to market with a painkiller and not a vitamin. And then you're going to attract the capital. But I do believe that the team, an inclusive team, a diverse team that can really address the market and the target market as a whole is fundamental.
And that leads us over to a very interesting perspective that I've seen for the past years after moving more into the startup scene. I thought I came from a very male-dominated industry with like the ocean industries. Then I come into the startup scene and I see that it's the same. You have a lack of female founders, you have a lack of diversity in the teams when it comes to investors, etc. So here it's two very different areas and industries, but facing the same challenge, which is also why we wanted to bring you together here today across the kind of startup, ocean and industry fields to talk about investing in gender diversity. Then we have Røya Skogland from the factory with us, and last year there was an event during Oslo Innovation Week at Einer where I was brought on board to talk about ocean tech, and then I challenged your CEO that there was a lack of diversity in the main panel, and that brought me on board the actual board of the factory later on. And you represent also, I mean, traditionally quite male-dominated industries of like finance and property, like finance PropTech, but still with a very strong fundament on creating diverse team and actually addressing diversity. Even though you're not Astia or you're not Springbank, you're not considered like a female investment vehicle, but still you are delivering on the same aspects of diversity.
Actually, when we negotiate the terms with the startups we have in our accelerators, when we want to invest in them, we have an internal tool. And in this internal tool, we have a series of questions and criteria. And one of them, or many of them, are about diversity. So diversity of the team in terms of tech, gender, background. And given the result we get, it actually impacts their valuation. So if they don't have a diverse team, we can identify it, and they will have a lower valuation because of that. So this is also what, this is something important that we look at. And I would say that actually, so we know that Norway is one of the best places to be for women, but still, we have, I would say, 30% of the companies that are female-led. And again, I'm going to look from the perspective, even if we invest, I look from the perspective of company builders, what we do to create startups. And bringing cash in is important to level up. On our side, we try actually to bring the education, the right tools to help them. Because one of the other reasons why there are not enough female entrepreneurs is because there are not enough awareness. This is why She Conference is there, to create awareness, to give stories, to give role models. And after that, when they're inspired, what's next? You know, okay, I want an idea, you know, the founder of BRIM inspired me today. I want to start a boat, you know. But what's next? Okay, who do I talk to? What are the tools out there? How do I start a company? This is where we come in. And our role is to make this knowledge available to as many as possible and find these women. And I would say it's quite hard actually to get these women even to speak when we organize events. And you know, Heidi, I don't know where she is, hiding behind the camera. It's kind of quite challenging to get these women to speak on stages. Like some of them were like, you know, you have a great tech, please come on stage. In the audience you will have a jury of investors, of potential advisors, and they're like, you know what, I'd rather, just like I have so much to do. You know, but yes, we know you have a lot to do, but this is a great opportunity to go on stage and actually reach out to a larger audience. So there is also a lot of work to do in terms of mindset. Allow them to shine, allow them to own, allow them to just speak up. So investment is important, bringing awareness is important, bringing tools that we do is important, and working also the mindset. So actually, as I think you mentioned, it's the job that a whole country has to do, that the world has to do. The media have to work towards bridging the gap. The politicians have to work towards it, and not just like in talking, but there's so much talking. Actually, in practical activities, what can we do? So all our roles are very important, and we operate as an ecosystem to support each other and support women.
And Tina, role models are an important part of that as well, and you're one of them, I think. But you had a comment to add to Raya's input.
Absolutely, because you reminded me. Last year I went with She Invest to San Francisco, went to Harvard, and they had some very interesting research going on, because a thing we hear quite often is that women are not risk seekers, they are risk averse. Risk averse, exactly. And what they said, that might not be true. Basically because women are not used to actually having or controlling the capital. They say that they need much more research, and we need to see much more women taking control of the capital before we can actually say that women are less risk seekers than men are. And I think that really comes back to what you said. We have to give the opportunity and change the mindset of women as well to take control of the capital, because it's so important to set the direction where we're going forward, and also for women to take control of the capital, because controlling the capital says something where we're going in the future. What kind of future do you want? And you decide what kind of companies we're going to invest in. So I think that is important as well.
And I think we're about to round off, but here there are a lot of men and women from very diverse backgrounds, and also on the Startup Extreme stream there are people from all over the world with different backgrounds. What is like the key takeout now for really accelerating women taking their roles now in the years to come? Where are the biggest opportunities that you see that are also underinvested in? Angela?
Yes, well, I would say, I'm going to quote Jeanette, who said, if not you, who, and if not here, or if not now, when? Well, I think this is right here. And in Norway, this might be the best place on earth to actually take your dream and give it a try. I would say we have a safety net, we have ecosystems that have been developed, I guess, in the last no more than 10 years. And Norway is becoming an innovation hub in only 10 years, and this is the job of so many people with your mentality of the dugnad, all hands on deck. And we're building, and I'm gonna get into that group as well, and I'm gonna say we're building it. And with accelerators, with investors, with banks, with so many other people cheering up for you, and the Norwegian government, I think, is a very, with so many schemes really promoting entrepreneurship and female entrepreneurship. This is the moment.
And Jen, I think you bring something very powerful and important into the Norwegian ecosystem, because you represent the US investment market, really, which is, I think, also, which is, I mean, we're still low on maturity in some areas, and I mean, we have a strong collaboration historically between Norway and the US, and there is a lot of potential untapped now. Massive, that we can work from.
Yeah, I totally could not agree more. And I think that the real opportunities are going to be those companies that have been traditionally overlooked by traditional forms of capital. So I think that there needs to be a lens on And especially like people out there, you know, Astia, yourself with your accelerator, you know, we need to be out there looking at companies differently than other people do. And I can tell you, I'm a female founder, and I'm sure there's some female founders out here, but you know, the worst kiss of death is when you go to see a male investor and he literally like glazes over because he has just no idea how to even comprehend, or people shaking their heads, yep, or you know, let me show this to my executive assistant, or let me show this to my wife, or you know, these days are gone. That's the old school way of looking at things, and I think that there is going to be a lot of great ways to look at good companies if we just sort of scratch beneath the surface.
So I think this is the beginning of great collaborations ahead. Raya, you are moving on to your next Startup Extreme speech and activity now. Thank you all for joining here in Oslo on board BRIM Explorer and virtually. So we will continue with some physical mingling, and next year we hope to see everyone again in Voss.
Yes.